Hello and welcome back to another movie review here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Solo, a Star Wars movie. It literally just came out, and so I'm pretty excited to talk about it today. Before I get into the movie, I am going to say spoiler alert. There will be spoilers in this review, so if you have not seen Solo, a Star Wars movie or Star Wars story, go ahead and add this to your watch later list and go watch it, and then come back and watch this review when you have seen it. If you don't care, go ahead and watch the video. Yeah, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I guess you could take what I say with a grain of salt. It's up to you. But yeah, before I get into the review, though, I have to say a few things. If you enjoy this review and want to see more like it in the future, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit a like on the video. It lets me know what you guys enjoy. So do that if it is to your liking. We have a Facebook page. It is facebook.com/ccinemareviews page, and we have a Twitter. It's @ccinemareviews. So definitely tell me your thoughts there if you don't want to do that in the comment section down below. And it goes without saying, I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this movie, and literally anything that you would like to tell me, whether it's speculation for the next Solo movie, just tell me your thoughts either in the comment section down below or on one of those two platforms. With that being said, let's get into the review. Right, so Solo, a Star Wars story. Directed by Ron Howard, and you could say directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. We will never know how much of what we see in the movie is directed by either of those two, or three, I guess. Obviously starring Alden Ehrenreich, Donald Glover, Emilia Clarke, Woody Harrelson, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, which is one of the cool, her character is L3, Lando's droid, which is one of the better characters in my opinion. Jonas Suotomo, I believe is how you pronounce the man's name, who plays Chewie, who is obviously, you see him in the trailers, he's back. Paul Bettany as the main villain, which is he's pretty good in this. And also Jon Favreau does the character of Rio, who is the four-armed, I think he's an Andorian is what they called him, but his name is Rio, and also another cool character. First and foremost is, did I like it? Now, before I get into the reasons why, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, you guys. Like, I have curtains, Star Wars, I have shirts, I have the pops, I have action feet, like, I have so many things Star Wars. I'm obviously a huge fan, and so I think I really enjoyed this movie. And the main reason is that I had fun watching the movie. And I know I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so what a surprise that I had fun watching a Star Wars movie. But at the same time, if people out there go and they see Solo, a Star Wars movie, if you watch a movie, any movie, not just a Star Wars movie, if you watch a movie with the intent to not have fun, if you watch a movie with the intent that you won't like it, and don't keep an open mind to liking the movie or enjoying the movie, then you aren't even giving the movie a chance. In every movie that I see, every episode of a TV show that I see, I go into it wanting to enjoy it, wanting to have fun with it. Some movies, I get Schindler's List, I get it. You're not going to have fun with every movie, but I would like to enjoy the movie, and that was my main purpose. It's a Solo movie. It's a Han Solo movie. I went into it with the intent to have fun, and I had a ton of fun. I was smiling ear to ear the entire movie. And that's the reason that it's good to me, because I feel like what they were going for with a Han Solo movie is having a really fun time and having an adventure with this character that we know and love, And so that's why I think it's a good movie, because in my opinion it just did exactly what it needed to do. That's just my opinion, but Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo was a really good Han Solo. He wasn't quite the Harrison Ford Han Solo, but that Harrison Ford Han Solo is older, and he's maybe not more, he's a little bit more mature. He has seen a little bit more in the galaxy, and so people change, and so can this character. So Alden does a great job as the younger Solo. The supporting cast around him, pretty much like they play their parts, to perfection, in my opinion. I don't think that there was a weak link in any of the characters that you see for more than one scene in this movie. Pretty much everybody around him, including the droids, Chewbacca especially, was like, as soon as they got together, it was like instant chemistry, and that's something that's hard to do on Alden's part, where you're acting opposite this, this mask of a creature, this creature that doesn't really give you all the facial expressions and everything. So good on everyone for doing that. And lastly but not least is the villain played by Paul Bettany, Dryden Voss. He is a good villain. Like, he's a powerful villain in that he has the power to kill everybody on this thing, but he doesn't, because they owe him some stuff. And the good thing is that they don't just talk to him at the beginning and then talk to him at the end. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he's just a villain to tell our characters what to do because they owe him. No, he's present throughout the entire movie, because they're constantly saying, like, hey, we can't double cross this guy, because if we do, he's gonna kill us. Like, once you have a bounty on your head, that's something that Woody Harrelson's character tells Han Solo. He's like, hey, well, you haven't lived with a price on your head. It's a tough life. Like, you're always looking over your shoulder. And so the villain is present throughout the entire movie without the character actually being there. Let's talk a little bit about the story. And for this movie, the story works really, really good, in my opinion. We start off, it's 10 years before episode 4, and Han and Kira are on Corellia. They're trying to get off Corellia. He makes it, she doesn't. He vows to come back for her because they are lovers. But he takes a detour to become a part of the Empire. Because they were going to catch him, and so he was like, hey, I'll just enlist. And so, yeah, great. He goes to the Empire, stays there for 3 years, and after 3 years, he finally meets Beckett, who is Woody Harrelson's character. He meets Beckett. He's like, hey, get me out of the Empire, because Beckett's obviously not in the Empire. He has, like, the Imperial armor on, but it's, like, full of not blaster holes. So Han's like, hey, yeah, that's not yours. You'd be dead if it was. Beckett, like, double crosses him. They throw him in the pit with the Beast. The Beast turns out to be Chewie. Instant chemistry, back on board. Han and Chewie get out. They go with Beckett to do another job for Dryden Voss. The job goes bad. It doesn't work out for them. They were supposed to get, I believe it's some kind of fuel. I can't remember what the exact name is. So I'm just going to say this fuel, so that I don't get roasted in the comments. They're supposed to get this fuel, can't get it, go back to Dryden Voss, and he's like, well, I gotta kill you. But then Han's like, ha, we can get more of this fuel. It is on Kessel. It is on Kessel, and so we'll do it that way. Dryden Voss is like, yeah, it's a terrible plan, but go try it. And then they obviously get the fuel, and they're bringing it back to Dryden, but then they decide to double cross Dryden because dude's a bad man. There's another double cross by Beckett on Han Solo, and then Han Solo reads the double cross and double cross. No, he doesn't. No, Han reads his double cross, comes up with a great plan, and they kind of win. There's a battle. Kira kills Dryden Voss, which is awesome. Han shoots Beckett, which is like, wow, this guy is a good guy, but he doesn't want to be a good guy, so he does this, and it totally keeps in character. And it's like, it keeps in character, but it's also like a nod to the hardcore fans who are like, Han shot first. So yeah, that's pretty much the story. And then at the end we get Maul. More on Maul later. But as far as the story goes, there are 2 heists. One of them goes wrong. One of them goes kind of good. L3, Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character does die. She does die. The droid itself dies, but the databank, because the droid had like the best navigational computer in her databanks or whatever, they combine that with the Millennium Falcon, which is why the Millennium Falcon is like one of the best in the galaxy. And so yeah, the Kessel, there's the first heist which they try to get this fuel, doesn't go so good, so Dryden's like, hey, go to Kessel. They go to Kessel, and so yeah, then they get out of Kessel, which doesn't quite work out for them, but that is how Han does the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. Lando sets it up. He's like, hey, you can only do the Kessel Run in the least amount is 20. Boom, take a shortcut, do it in 12. And I loved this movie's so fun, so funny. But there's the scene where Han and Chewie are talking about it being 12 parsecs, and Chewie says something, and then Han's like, if you round down. So it's a great nod to Han building up his legend, which is super, and the Legend of the Falcon, which is great. As far as the story goes, for a Han Solo story, it moves pretty quickly, especially in the beginning. Once we get about 30 minutes into it, then it kind of slows down and you get the last final heist on Kessel that you're supposed to do. But those first 30 minutes move really quickly, and in my opinion, they never move too quickly. You can always tell what's going on. You can always tell what Han is doing, like why he's here. It's not just like, oh, here's Han and he's here for some reason. Yeah, just believe it. You could always tell what was going on. You could always tell why it was going on. And the story itself, having 2 heists in there, was really fun to see them do it in different ways. One was more of like an infiltration. The one on Kessel was more of an infiltration. The first one where they're trying to get the fuel off that train was, you see that in the trailer, but when they're trying to get it off the train, that one was more of like just blast our way in. The other one was really infiltrate and get in there and then get the fuel and then get out. It was really cool. And then the ending was really awesome to see all the double crosses, because it's a Han Solo movie. Like, these guys are scoundrels. Of course they're gonna double cross each other. They're gonna double cross each other, then they're gonna triple cross each other, and then Han's gonna read the double cross, so he actually does the perfect counter to the double cross. It's so much fun, and it's like, ooh, it's kind of like when people play poker and it's like, oh, I have this hand, and then the next person has the hand that barely beats that, and then the next person has the hand that's like the perfect hand to beat both of theirs. It's really fun to see what happens in this movie. One of the coolest things that has literally, it doesn't really have anything to do with the story of the movie, but I just gotta say it, I was so happy that they had 2 games of Sabacc going. They didn't explain how Sabacc was played, but that first Sabacc game, and it's in one of the clips where Han and Lando just go at each other. It's so good, and Lando cheats in the first game of Sabacc, which is really it's Lando. Yeah, he's gonna cheat. Okay, and the fact that Han knew that he was cheating because the card had already been played that Lando did play, so Han knew that he was cheating, but he couldn't prove it, and it was super, it was just a good 5 minutes of that scene of the first one with them playing Sabacc, and I was just smiling ear to ear, so happy to see it. And then the second Sabacc game, which is at towards the very end of the movie, where Han figures out that Lando's using like this card thing that slips him a card from up his sleeve. Han sees it. Han does the thing that Lando did to him in Empire when he's like, he starts talking to him, like bad mouthing him, and then he like pulls him in for a hug. He takes the card out so Lando can't cheat, and then Han does win the Millennium Falcon from Lando by doing it fair and square, which was something that was really, really fun to see. That Han, yes, he can kind of bend the truth here and there, but that when he said to Lando that he won the Falcon fair and square, it was fair and square, which was super awesome to see. Like those two scenes, in my opinion, were my favorite. Like there wasn't like any action going on, but like it was just so much fun to watch those two characters go at each other, because you knew, just like in Casablanca, it was the start to a beautiful friendship. It was just so much fun. They don't have anything to do with the story, but like the story had the heists, the story had the double crosses, the story had the marauders, the pirates who tried to take their fuel in the first heist. There's some pirates that try to take the fuel that they're trying to take in the first heist. That's why that heist goes wrong. They meet the pirates at the end. The pirates are actually good people. They're not bad. It's very much the pirates have a rebellion against the crime syndicates, much like the real rebellion in the other movies are against the Empire. These pirates have a rebellion against the crime syndicates because of the crime syndicates and what they've done to people. They've enslaved people. They've murdered, massacred people. They're just as bad as the Empire, but it's really cool to see that the actual Empire wasn't exactly the bad guy. It was more the crime syndicates, and it makes sense for a Solo movie. You have the Empire be the villain for your main Star Wars stuff. You make a Solo movie, yeah, the Empire is going to be some gangsters. Last big thing I want to talk about is the characters. Now, I already mentioned it before, but Alden Ehrenreich does an absolutely amazing job of portraying a younger Han Solo. From the first days on Corellia, where he's very young, he's very naive, to his later years, or not later years, but 3 years later, where he's seen more of the galaxy and he's still trying to get back to Corellia. He did a really, really good job, and he does all the humor that happens in this movie. This movie is a really, really funny movie, and it's not quite to the point of Last Jedi for me, where it's like, oh, you could have skipped the joke right there. Usually all of these jokes landed, and they were all not in places where it's like, you know what, I could have done without that joke there. They all landed for me. And him as a young Han Solo, having those mannerisms, having those funny lines that that Han is just making that up on the spot. It was really cool to see that, and he does a great job. Hats off to him. He had a lot of pressure on him. Another one who had a lot of pressure on him was Donald Glover, but he delivered for me as Lando Calrissian. He delivered 100%. Like I said before, my favorite parts were the interactions between them during those Sabacc games, and Lando, he got to mourn for his droid L3, which was really cool. And also, I was like, that's the way you mourn for a character. You don't cry for them, but you're thankful that they got to be with you. You're happy that they got to be with you, yet you're still a little bit sad that they are gone. Speaking of L3 is one of the funniest characters in the movie, if not the funniest character in the movie. She had some of the best one-liners, and she has some of the best setup jokes. All throughout the movie, she's all about freeing the droids and equal rights for droids. I guess you would call her a droidist. Whatever. But yeah, all throughout they set that up, and then one of the best jokes is Lando and her in the cockpit. Lando's going back to get something. He's like, hey, you need anything, L3? And she just says equal rights, and it was so funny because it just cracked me up because of the setup, but also just the way that she was she's always thinking about equal rights. It was really fun to see that. Emilia Clarke as Kira, the love interest for Han Solo in this movie, was really good. Like I said before, they had I bought it instantly as soon as I saw them two on the screen back on Corellia for the first time. I was like, yeah, I believe that these two would be together. I believe that she would want to go off and explore the stars with this guy, because it's Han Solo, who wouldn't? But her as an individual character, I like the growth that she goes through during the movie, where she's like, yeah, Han's great, but I feel like I have a bigger opportunity here at Crimson Dawn. And so I liked that in the end she eventually double-crossed Han, and that she went all, she's going to see Maul, which is a great reveal, one of the best reveals in these new movies to me. The fact that Maul is back and Maul is alive, and he's back in the movie side of Star Wars, which he hasn't been since 1999, which was a shame. But yeah, to see him back and to see him as the head of Crimson Dawn, I'd like to see where that goes in the future. Him and Kira, especially. Tandy Newton as Val, I believe her name was, the love interest to Woody Harrelson. She was really fun. She was like the motherly character, but she was skeptical, like super hardcore skeptical of Han Solo and Chewbacca. I like that. She was like, you know what, this kid might not know what he's doing. But it was just super fun to see them. I was a little bit sad to see her die, but she did die in, to finish the mission, or at least they obviously didn't succeed in the mission, the first heist, but she died to try to complete the heist, which was it was a really great scene, and I think that she was one of the cooler characters because she was like taking out those Viper droids like a boss. Last person or not last person, but Jon Favreau as Rio. He's really cool. Like, the forearm dude. He wasn't so much the funny character as much as he was just fun to be around. And that character, it was sad to see him die too. Like, the first time he gets shot like once, and then off screen he must have got shot a few more times, because the next time you see him he's like he's like shot like at least 4 times. So it was sad to see him go. Jon Favreau does a great job as that voice. And the character, for a big budget CGI, for being an alien, the character looked pretty good too. Jonas Suotamo, I'm sorry, I'm butchering his name, but Jonas, he was great as Chewie. He had all the mannerisms. He had all the great reactions. Him and Alden just seemed like they had the exact chemistry that Harrison Ford and the big guy, why am I blanking on his name? Harrison Ford had with Peter Mayhew. There it is. Peter Mayhew on the original trilogy. Just felt like as soon as they were together, and all throughout the movie they had great chemistry with each other. Jonas, great job, hats off to you. Finally, Paul Bettany as the main villain was super awesome. One of the best concepts in the entire movie was the fact that he had these lines on his face, and that when he would get mad and angry, the lines would get red, and then not only that, but the whites of his eyes would get red, which is one of the cooler concepts. And the fact that they did that all in post, and it never took me out of the movie, never looked like, what are they doing to his face? I'm talking about you, Justice League mustache. Come on, you guys. But like, the fact that they did that all in post, and it totally worked. It was a really cool addition to the character. And Paul Bettany, like I said before, always present in the movie, always felt his presence without the character being there. And he was a great villain for the first Solo movie. All in all, I think that this movie is really, really fun. And if you wanted something deep and dark and brooding from a Solo movie, then I'm sorry, but that's not what you're gonna get. If you wanted Oscar, type performances, Oscar type story, if you wanted Oscar type anything, you're probably not gonna get that. It'll probably get nominated for visual effects or something like that, or sound mixing. Or maybe score, something like that. But like, if you wanted one of the all-time great movies, AFI probably is not going to put this on their top 100, but it's a Solo movie. And if you don't want to have fun during a Solo movie, then you're just going into it in the wrong with the wrong mindset. But if you did want to have fun with Solo movie, I definitely think that you will. And when you did watch it, you probably should have. If you didn't have fun, I'm super sorry. I don't know why, because to me, I had so much fun, and that's why I enjoyed this movie so much. Just because I was so happy to see these characters. I was just, grinning the entire movie. I had so much fun. I can't tell you whether or not it is a great movie, because that's subjective. To me, it's a really, really fun movie, and that makes it a really good movie to me. But I want to know your thoughts on the movie. So definitely tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below, or like I said before, Facebook page or Twitter. Those links will be in the description. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts. I think for the pressure that was on Alden, that was on not Woody Harrelson, but Alden and Donald Glover, and then Ron Howard coming in to direct this movie literally halfway through their shoot. I think the pressure on them was a lot, there was so much pressure on them, and the fact that they did as good of job as they did with the movie, I'm like, hey man, hats off to you. Alden playing Solo, great job. Donald Glover, great job. Ron Howard, you're a wizard for coming to this halfway through and delivering something that was as fun and as good as Solo turned out to be. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that like button if you've enjoyed it and want to see more like it in the future. Thank you so much, and may the Force be with you always.